Hello and welcome to my video newsletter. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted anything because I've been just crazy busy working on finishing Shattered Identity. I got it uploaded to Amazon on Friday and the book went live on Saturday, the print copy. The ebook goes live on the 21st and it's up for pre-order. I will link that down in the comments, so be sure and check that out. I had never written a mystery suspense book before, and it was actually the first book I ever got published, and it reached number 7 on the charts. So I was really excited to get my rights back. I've retitled it, and as you know, I've done some major revisions on it, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So today I'm going to read chapter 1 to you. So here we go. The clock on the microwave in Brent's condo read 10:55 a.m. Amelia's resolve was disappearing faster than foam at high tide. He'd promised to take her to Wymus for breakfast. Amelia drummed her fingernails on her bare skin. If Brent wasn't back in 5 more minutes, she was going to breakfast without him. The aromas from El Mar de Cortez, the condominium's on-site restaurant, wafted through his open window, and her stomach protested in hunger. That did it. No more waiting. Amelia stormed back to her own condo to grab her wallet. If it hadn't been for the merger of their tech companies and the fact that she was engaged to Brent, she'd have taken the first flight back to the States. Mexico, of all places to work out a business detail. She crossed the courtyard and jammed her keys into the lock. Her door swung inward a few inches before she turned the knob. She was sure she'd locked it before traipsing over to Brent's condo. Pushing the door open a bit more, she peered into the front room, half expecting to see her fiancé. She flung the door open. Brent? There was no answer. But who else would have locked her door? He better have let himself in with apology roses for being late. She drew her lips together and clenched her teeth, remembering the way he had practically jumped for joy after convincing her to vacation in San Carlos, Mexico. What was so wonderful about this place? No room service, no concierge, and few amenities. The weight room was a measly treadmill and a few dumbbells. This was a poor excuse for a fitness center. Brent was out of his mind when he suggested they come back here later for their honeymoon. At least then they wouldn't have to book separate condos because of all the legal issues with his ex-wife. But even if they didn't share a room, San Diego still would have been better. No money exchange, same white sandy beaches, and scrumptious Mexican food. Not to mention luxury rooms where everything worked. Why was Brent so enamored with this despicable excuse of lodging? She blamed being here simply on a momentary state of weakness, one she had no intention of repeating. She scanned the room but found no flowers or signs that Brent had been there, yet nothing appeared out of place either. It was obvious that no one had robbed it. Amelia's Gucci bag sat on the end table next to the couch. She rummaged through the contents. Wallet, Visa Gold, MasterCard Platinum, Discover, Company Card, Cash, Giorgio Armani sunglasses. If Brent wasn't there, then who was? Did the maids come to clean? Perhaps one of them hadn't locked up properly. Amelia would inform management, and someone was definitely getting fired. A tapping penetrated the still air. Stupid faucets. The maid must not have shut it off all the way. Such a terrible excuse for a resort. Amelia investigated the sound, but neither of the faucets was dripping. She tracked the sound to her bedroom and gasped at the sight. The contents of her dresser were in disarray on the baden floor. Someone had dumped her makeup case on the table, and some items spilling onto the floor. Instead of the leaky faucet, the noise had come from the tapping of the curtain cord against the wall as the breeze blew through the broken window. Shattered glass lay on the carpet, and someone had cut through the window screen. What if the intruder hid in the closet or under the bed? A taste like metal rose in Amelia's throat, threatening to choke her as she clutched at her neck. Unable to catch her breath, she backed out of the room. Her legs wobbled and she barely made it to the bedroom door. She backed into a muscular chest. A sharp scream escaped her lips as her knees gave out. "Whoa!" Brent grasped her shoulders and spun her around. Amelia trembled as she collapsed into his arms. He stroked the back of her hair. "What's the matter?" "Where have you been?" Before she let him answer, she shoved him with the force of her adrenaline rush, sending him into the door jamb. "You promised! What if you left me? I might have been—" "Sweetheart, don't sweetheart me. You're shaking like a leaf." His arms wrapped around her and he held her against his chest. "What happened?" She buried her face against the fabric of his orange and black wetsuit. "Someone broke in." Brent led Amelia to the front porch. "You stay right here while I check it out." Amelia plastered herself against the wall. He was probably gone for just a few minutes, but it was too long. What if the burglar got him? Amelia jumped when Brent came back out and asked, "Where's the necklace I gave you?" She pulled it from underneath her blouse. "I wish you had left it in Mark's safe." As she shook her head, she stared into his eyes. "You can't think it would be safe there either." Brent took her hand and kissed her fingers. "You're probably right. I'll go to the front desk and have them secure the door. I'll call the police while I'm there." With a shaky hand, Amelia pushed her hair behind her ear. "I'm not staying there. Separate condos. That was the stupidest thing about this whole ridiculous getaway." He tenderly took her hand and led her off the porch. "You can stay in mine. I'll stay here." "Oh, no." Amelia's stomach tightened as she considered the possibility of someone entering while she was still inside. "I'm not staying alone in either room. We stay together or I'm checking out." "All right, if that'll make you feel better." Once inside Brent's condo, he led her to the couch. "At least you didn't bring the schematics with you." Amelia played with the locket. "You don't think I'd leave them in Houston, do you?" She met his brown eyes. "You can't possibly suggest they'd be safe there." "What? Where are they?" He ran his hand through his dark brown hair. "The security of the whole project has already been breached. I couldn't trust it being left anywhere. When I retrieved them from the safe, only half of them were there." "What do you mean, only half?" "While checking the chip for tampering, I discovered only half of the blueprints. I don't understand why Mark would do that." Amelia pulled her hair behind her with a quick sweep of her hand. Brent touched the silver heart-shaped locket dangling from the chain around her neck. "We've been over this so many times. You can trust your father." "Stepfather," Amelia corrected, falling back against the cushions. "Fine, stepfather. What did you do with the chip?" Brent sat down next to Amelia and stroked her arm. She pulled away from his touch. After slipping the necklace over her head, she laid it on the coffee table and worked off the silver links and filigree, like a Chinese puzzle. The outer casing twisted free from the locket. Once they separated the pieces, she pressed the tiny clasp and opened the heart, revealing the amplification crystal and a small picture of her and Brent taken 2 years before, just after her mother's death, and before his fiasco of a marriage to Jasmine. "Here's the crystal, but where's the chip?" He touched the pear-shaped gem. She lifted the picture with her fingernail and exposed the microchip. Taped to the back side of the photograph. "If someone tampered with the blueprints, why would I leave this behind?" "But Mark wouldn't do that. Does anyone else know?" Brent brushed a lock of her hair out of her face and tucked it behind her ear. "Don't be ridiculous." She flipped the strand of hair back across her cheek. "No one outside of the firm's research department would divulge anything about the project. Would a confidentiality clause be enough to keep developers from leaking information?" Brent chose every team member because of their loyalty to the company, and the only other person who knew besides Brent was Mark Baylor, the man Amelia's mother had married. But Tiffany was dead, leaving Amelia and Mark joint heirs of Cell Technologies Incorporated. Perhaps someone from the lab. Amelia shook her head and mentally ticked off each of the developers' qualifications. They understood that revealing information outside the company would result in termination and a lawsuit. Each one had too much invested in the company, both monetarily and personally. They adored Amelia's grandfather when cell phone technology was in its infancy, and all of them respected him. Brent let out a heavy sigh. I spoke with Mark the day before we left. Amelia cut him off. It has to be Mark. He's the only other person who knows. Brent bit his lower lip and pulled at his sleeve of his wetsuit. Your stepfather wouldn't do anything to jeopardize the company. I'm going to report this to the police. You wait here and I'll be right back. Amelia grabbed his hand. If you stand me up one more time. I didn't stand you up. I got detained. Brent moved closer and put his arm around her shoulders. Detained? That's your answer to everything. I'm sick of it, Brent. Amelia slid away from him, snapping the locket closed before twisting the rest of the puzzle in place. I'll be back. He took her hands in hers again. Do you have your cell phone? Amelia shook her head. No, I left it on the nightstand, but it wasn't there. It may have been stolen. It's a good thing we haven't tested the crystal on my phone. Here, then take mine. He freed his hand, reached into the top drawer of the end table, and grabbed his phone. This is probably nothing more than a simple burglary. I'm sure you're safe here. But what if it's not a burglary? What if someone suspects? And they had come here looking. What if they assume it's on my phone? Brent leaned in close and ran his thumb across her chin. No one outside of the lab knows except Mark and me. Besides, who would follow us all the way to Mexico just to get the chip? Certainly they could have waited a few more days until we returned home. Besides, it's broad daylight. I don't know. Amelia followed him to the entryway. Just please hurry. Brent kissed her forehead and closed the door behind him. Amelia locked the deadbolt. Her fingers ran over the filigree. She replaced the chain around her neck. What if it really was nothing more than a burglary? But why didn't they touch her purse? Had she scared them off? Her head throbbed and her mouth became dry as a parched desert. She entered the kitchen and found a half a bottle of Chardonnay in the refrigerator. This would be a good start. Okay, so that's chapter 1, and I hope that you're intrigued. This story, I think I told you, was kind of inspired by a story my mom started reading to me when I was a little girl, and I never finished it. But I'm excited that I not only finished it, got my rights back, but I just republished it. So I have to tell you just a little bit about this book. When I first wrote it, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And when I first wrote it, it was very much full of Mormon culture. Well, I wanted to reach a broader audience because I'm very passionate about faith. I'm passionate about family. And I'm passionate about the Savior. And don't you just love that picture? When I bought the print, let me just kind of tilt that up a little bit. When I bought the print, I didn't realize it was going to be so big. So I lovingly call him my big Jesus. Anyway, so this story is still full of faith. It's full of conversion to our Savior, Jesus Christ. And I love this suspense romance. It was a lot of fun to write the first time, and it was even more fun to revise it and revisit the story. Anyway, so next up for me is I'm working on the revisions of the Dragon's Realm, and I've got the last 3 chapters to revise, and I think I'm going to have to rewrite them because the epic battle is just not quite so epic. So I'm having to rethink how I want this book to end. And so in the meantime, I hope you have a very blessed Valentine's week. We're going to go to a party on Saturday night, and it's called Love Letters. We're going to be writing letters to each other, as well as a really fun dinner. Don't forget to like this video, and if you would, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell, and then that way you'll never miss a video from me. So until next week, I love you.